Existentialism, creating meaning ourselves, the core idea. There is a moment when a person realizes that the world does not come with instructions. No universal purpose is handed to us. No guiding force tells us precisely what to do. Some people find this realization unsettling. After all, wouldn't it be easier if meaning were built into life? If there were a clear answer, a single path to follow? And yet, this open-ended nature of existence is precisely what makes it extraordinary. This is the foundation of existentialism, a school of thought that suggests life has no inherent meaning, no predetermined purpose set by a higher force, the universe, or fate. Instead, meaning is something we create for ourselves. The roots of existentialism stretch deep into history, appearing in literature, philosophy, and personal reflections across cultures. But in the modern sense, existentialism became a central theme in the 19th and 20th centuries, shaped by thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Friedrich Nietzsche. They challenged the idea that humans are born into a world with a fixed purpose, and argued that we are responsible for shaping our existence. One of the most famous existentialist ideas comes from Sartre, who said, "Existence precedes essence." This means that unlike objects created for a specific purpose, a clock is made to tell time, a chair is designed for sitting, humans are born without a pre-assigned role. We define who we are through our actions and choices. For some, this freedom feels exhilarating. Without restrictions, a person can build their life however they choose. But for others, this idea is overwhelming. If life has no built-in meaning, does that mean nothing matters? According to existentialist thinkers, the absence of inherent meaning does not mean life is meaningless. Instead, it means that we hold the power to create meaning through our decisions, relationships, and experiences. Rather than being passive observers, we are active participants in shaping what our lives will become. This philosophy invites us to take ownership of our existence. Every action, every choice, every moment contributes to the meaning we create for ourselves. A gentle exploration. At first glance, existentialism may seem like a stark or even unsettling philosophy. It directly challenges long-held beliefs that meaning is external, something given to us by tradition, religion, or the universe's natural order. However, existentialist thinkers argue that this uncertainty is not something to be afraid of. Instead, it is an opportunity. Imagine standing before a blank canvas. No lines are drawn, no outlines to follow, and no restriction. Some may find this emptiness intimidating. Without instructions, where do you begin? But others may see it as liberating. The possibilities are endless. Existentialists view life this way. No fixed meaning is imposed upon us, but this is not a loss but a kind of freedom. We are the ones who paint the picture, create the story, and define what is important to us. Another key existentialist thinker, Albert Camus, introduced the concept of the absurd. He suggested that humans naturally seek meaning, yet the universe does not provide it. This creates a paradox, the desire for purpose in a world that does not assign one. But rather than despairing at this contradiction, Camus suggested we embrace it. One of his most famous ideas comes from the ancient Greek myth of Sisyphus. In the myth, Sisyphus is condemned by the gods to an eternal task rolling a massive boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down each time he reaches the top. It is a never-ending, seemingly pointless cycle. But Camus argues that we should imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because even in a situation where meaning is not given, Sisyphus can still find purpose in his action. He can see his task not as punishment, but as something he owns, a moment in which he asserts his will. Camus believed that this is how we should approach life. Even if the universe does not assign us meaning, we can still choose to create it. We may never have a final answer to why we exist, but that does not mean we cannot find purpose in our actions. For some, this meaning comes from creativity, writing, art, music, or innovation. Others find it in relationships, in love, in connection with others. Some may dedicate themselves to knowledge, exploration, or simply living a fulfilling life. There is no single formula or universal definition of a meaningful life. That makes it meaningful. It is unique to each individual and shaped by their experiences, dreams, and choices. Existentialism reminds us that we are not passive figures waiting for meaning to be handed to us. We are the ones who build it, shape it, define it. A slow reflection. Consider momentarily the moments in your life that have felt truly meaningful. Was it a moment of achievement when you reached a goal you had worked toward? Was it a quiet afternoon spent with someone you care about? A time when you felt deeply connected to something? A piece of music, a book, a sunset? No one assigned meaning to these experiences. They mattered because of how they felt to you. In this way, we are all existentialists, whether we realize it or not. Every day, we decide what is significant in our lives. The memories we cherish, the people we value, and the work we do all create meaning, even if it is not dictated by something more significant. This is the heart of existentialism, the understanding that meaning is not given, but made. Just as we create meaning in small moments, we also shape the overall direction of our lives. There is no single path we must follow, no script that dictates who we must become. Each day we make choices, and those choices define us. Perhaps this makes life so extraordinary, not that it has a single purpose, but it holds endless possibilities, a soft transition. Existentialism offers a powerful perspective on life, but is not the only one. While some embrace the idea of creating their meaning, others find comfort in accepting life as it is, letting go of control and finding peace in the natural flow of events. This brings us to Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to focus not on shaping meaning, but on mastering our reactions to the world. Where existentialism emphasizes personal responsibility and action, Stoicism teaches acceptance, finding tranquility in the things we cannot change. So, we now turn to another way of understanding life's purpose, Stoicism's quiet, steady wisdom. To Stoicism, tranquility through acceptance. The core idea. Watching the ocean brings a certain peace. Waves roll in, one after another, moving in an endless rhythm that has existed for millions of years. No wave resists its path. Each one follows the current, rising and falling in perfect harmony with nature. This effortless movement reflects the core lesson of Stoicism, one of the most enduring and practical schools of philosophy. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control the world around us, we can always control how we respond. Founded in the early 3rd century BC, Stoicism was developed by Zeno of Citium and later refined by great thinkers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. Unlike other philosophies that focus on abstract theories about the nature of reality, Stoicism is deeply practical. It does not ask why the universe exists or what ultimate purpose life may have. Instead, it asks a more immediate question: how can we live well in a world we cannot control? The Stoic answer is simple: we cannot control external events, only our responses. The world is unpredictable, fortune rises and falls, people act with kindness or cruelty, circumstances shift beyond our grasp. And yet, one thing always remains within our power: our mind and perception. For the Stoics, true peace does not come from wealth, success, or external comforts. It comes from mastering our reactions, developing inner resilience, and accepting life as it unfolds. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome, captured this idea beautifully. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Through this lens, Stoicism becomes more than just a philosophy, a way of life, a guide to navigating challenges with grace and maintaining peace in the face of hardship. We free ourselves from unnecessary suffering by understanding what is within our control and what is not. This is the essence of Stoicism: peace through acceptance, strength through discipline, wisdom through perspective. But how does one truly embrace Stoicism? To understand, we must explore its core principles and real-world applications, a gentle exploration. To fully grasp Stoicism, we must first understand one of its most important ideas: the dichotomy of control. Life can be divided into two categories: things we can control, our thoughts, reactions, choices, and attitudes; things we cannot control, the actions of others, the past, the future, and external events. Imagine a storm rolling in. The sky darkens, the wind rises, and rain begins to pour. No matter how much you wish for clear skies, you cannot stop the storm. But what you can control is how you respond. Do you curse the weather and let frustration build? Or do you find shelter, stay warm, and accept the rain as part of life? This is Stoicism in action. Instead of wasting energy on what we cannot change, we focus inward, cultivating a mindset that allows us to endure hardship calmly and with dignity. Sitting in traffic, you feel the tension rising. You are running late and the cars ahead are not moving. It would be easy to grow frustrated and let irritation take over. But will frustration change the situation? The traffic exists whether you are angry or not. A Stoic approach would be to accept the moment as it is, perhaps using the time for quiet thought, deep breathing, or gratitude. Someone speaks harshly to you, perhaps unfairly. Your initial reaction is anger, a need to defend yourself. But a Stoic would pause and ask, does this person's opinion change who I am? If the criticism is false, why let it bother me? If it is true, can I use it to grow? Either way, your peace remains untouched because you control your response. Life is unpredictable. Plans fall apart. Things do not always go as expected. A Stoic does not resist this reality. Instead, they embrace it. Instead of fearing change, they see it as natural, inevitable, and even necessary. Seneca, a great Stoic thinker, put it this way: it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. By focusing only on what we can control and letting go of the rest, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and make space for clarity, wisdom, and peace. A slow reflection. Take a moment to reflect. What in your life have you been trying to control, even though it is beyond your power? Can you let go, even just a little? Stoicism does not promise an easy life, but it does offer something better, a way to live with courage, peace, and wisdom, no matter what happens. When we practice Stoicism daily, we cultivate resilience. We become less reactive, more mindful, and less troubled by circumstances beyond our control. It is not about removing all emotion, but learning to channel our energy into what truly matters. By applying Stoic principles consistently, we build strength, not only for ourselves, but also for those around us. A Stoic mind is not unfeeling but unshaken. It is a mind that meets life with clarity, embraces hardship with dignity, and finds tranquility through acceptance. The waves of life will continue to rise and fall, but like the ocean itself, a Stoic mind remains deep, steady, and calm beneath the surface. A soft transition. Stoicism offers a path to peace, not by controlling the world, but by controlling our perception of it. It teaches us that much of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. While Existentialism encourages us to create our own meaning, Stoicism reminds us that meaning is not always necessary. Sometimes acceptance is enough. However, there is another perspective, one that views happiness not just as self-control, but as something cultivated over time through virtue, wisdom, and balance. This brings us to our next way of understanding life's purpose, Aristotle's concept of Eudaimonia, flourishing through a well-lived life. 3. Aristotle's Eudaimonia, flourishing through a well-lived life, the core idea. What does it mean to live a good life? Is it found in happiness, in wisdom, in personal success, or in the way we treat others? Is a good life something that happens to us, or something we create through our choices and actions? For Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of the ancient world, the answer was clear. A perfect life is one that flourishes. This idea is known as eudaimonia, a Greek word often translated as happiness, but better understood as flourishing, fulfillment, or living in alignment with one's highest potential. Unlike fleeting pleasures or momentary joy, eudaimonia is about long-term well-being, a deep and lasting state of meaning, virtue, and personal growth. Aristotle, writing in the 4th century BCE, argued that all human beings seek a life of fulfillment, whether they realize it or not. Some chase wealth, others seek power, fame, or pleasure. However, Aristotle believed that true fulfillment was not about external rewards. It was about the cultivation of character, wisdom, and balance. He proposed that flourishing comes from living a life of virtue, developing qualities like courage, patience, wisdom, and kindness. These virtues are not innate, but developed through practice, much like a musician must train their hands to play an instrument. In Aristotle's view, happiness is not something that simply happens to us. It is something we must actively build through our actions, decisions, and way of being in the world. To understand this idea more deeply, we must explore what Aristotle meant by virtue, balance, and the habits that lead to true fulfillment. A gentle exploration. Aristotle believed that every person has the potential to fulfill their highest self, a version of them that embodies wisdom, kindness, discipline, and purpose. But reaching this state does not happen by accident. It requires virtue, which Aristotle saw as the key ingredient to eudaimonia. What is virtue? According to Aristotle, it is the ability to act in a way that is rational, balanced, and good, not just for oneself but for others as well. Virtue is not extreme. It exists in the balance between two opposing forces. For example, courage is a virtue, but too much leads to recklessness, while too little leads to cowardice. Generosity is a virtue, but too much can lead to self-sacrifice, while too little results in selfishness. Confidence is a virtue, but too much can become arrogance, while too little leads to insecurity. This idea is known as the golden mean, the belief that a flourishing life is found in balance, not excess or deficiency. Living virtuously, according to Aristotle, means constantly refining one's actions, developing good habits, and learning from experience. A person does not become wise overnight or suddenly gain self-discipline or kindness. These qualities must be practiced daily, slowly shaping a person's character. This is why eudaimonia is not about short-term pleasure but about lifelong fulfillment. A person who builds their life around shallow pleasures may feel brief moments of joy, but without virtue, their happiness is fragile, easily disrupted by change, loss, or external circumstances. Aristotle suggested that a genuinely flourishing person is one who cultivates their mind, body, and relationships, balancing all aspects of life in a way that leads to deep satisfaction. Aristotle's philosophy is not just an abstract idea. It is something that can be practiced every day. 1. Cultivating good habits. A flourishing life is built on small, repeated actions. Aristotle believed that excellence is not a single act but a habit. If a person wants to be wise, they must think critically and seek knowledge. If they want to be kind, they must practice kindness regularly. By consciously choosing actions that align with virtue, a person slowly shapes their character over time. 2. Seeking balance in all things. A fulfilling life is not about extremes, it is about balance. Work and rest, ambition and humility, seriousness and play. Aristotle believed that those who live in excess, whether through indulgence, obsession, or emotional extremes, struggle to find true fulfillment. 3. Developing meaningful relationships. Aristotle also believed that human connection is a crucial part of eudaimonia. Friendship, love, and community are not just enjoyable, they are essential for a meaningful life. He described 3 types of friendships. Friendships of utility, based on mutual benefit, like business partners. Friendships of pleasure, based on enjoyment, like social companions. Friendships of virtue, deep, meaningful connections built on mutual respect and personal growth. The highest form of friendship, he argued, is one where 2 people help each other become their best selves. These are the friendships that enrich life, providing support, encouragement, and a sense of belonging. 4. Engaging in lifelong learning. To flourish, one must nurture the mind. Aristotle saw intellectual growth as a key part of eudaimonia. Reading, curiosity, and critical thinking all contribute to a well-rounded, fulfilling life. 5. Contributing to the greater good. A flourishing life is not lived in isolation. Aristotle believed that true fulfillment comes not just from self-improvement, but from positively impacting others. This could mean being a good friend, a mentor, a leader, or simply someone who treats others with kindness and fairness. Eudaimonia, then, is not just about feeling good, it is about being good in a way that extends beyond oneself. A slow reflection. Think about the moments in life that have felt genuinely fulfilling. They were likely not just moments of pleasure, but moments of growth, connection, and purpose. It could be overcoming a challenge, helping someone in need, learning something new, or spending time with people who matter. Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia invites us to focus on these more profound forms of happiness, the ones that last, the ones that shape us into better versions of ourselves. Imagine life as a garden. Each action, each habit, and each decision is like a seed. Some seeds grow into strong, flourishing trees, while others remain small and wither. What we nurture and what we cultivate determines what kind of life we grow. A fulfilling life is not built in a day, nor is it something we stumble upon by chance. It is something we create, patiently, intentionally, over a lifetime. Aristotle's wisdom reminds us that happiness is not just about feeling good at the moment. It is about becoming the kind of person who lives well, thinks deeply, and acts with purpose. This is what it means to flourish. A soft transition. Eudaimonia teaches us that meaning is found in growth, virtue, and balance. But what if meaning is not something we must create at all? What if the secret to fulfillment is not in our choices, but in letting go and flowing naturally with the universe? This brings us to Taoism, a philosophy that sees life as effortless harmony, where peace is found not in striving, but in following the gentle current of existence. 4. Taoism, flowing with the Tao, the core idea. There is a river, ancient and endless, moving effortlessly through valleys and over rocks. It does not resist, does not struggle, yet it carves mountains, shapes landscapes, and finds its way to the ocean without force. This river does not fight its path, nor does it seek to control it. Instead, it follows the natural course of things, adapting to obstacles, flowing with ease. This image captures the essence of Taoism, a philosophy that teaches us to live in harmony with the universe by embracing the natural flow of existence. Taoism, or Taoism, is an ancient Chinese philosophy and spiritual tradition dating back over 2,500 years. At its heart is the concept of the Tao, Tao meaning the way, an unseen, eternal force that flows through all things. The Tao is nature itself, the universe's rhythm, the effortless unfolding of life. Unlike other philosophies that emphasize logic, rules, or structured self-improvement, Taoism suggests something different. That the best way to live is not through effort, but through surrender to the natural order of things. The great Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu, credited with writing the Tao Te Ching, described the Tao as something beyond human understanding, something that simply is. He urged people to stop struggling against life, to let go of rigid plans, and to follow instead the effortless flow of existence, a concept known as Wu Wei, or non-action. At first glance, this idea might seem passive. Does Taoism encourage us to do nothing? But in truth, Wu Wei is not about inaction, but about effortless action. It means working with the natural flow of events rather than resisting them. It is the way a bird soars without flapping its wings unnecessarily, the way a tree bends in the wind rather than breaking. Whereas other philosophies focus on control, discipline, and struggle, Taoism teaches ease, adaptability, and balance. It reminds us that life, like a river, moves best when it is allowed to flow naturally. But how can we apply this to our own lives? How do we let go of resistance and live in harmony with the Tao? A gentle exploration. The idea of Wu Wei is central to Taoist thought. It is the art of letting things happen rather than forcing them, allowing life to unfold quickly rather than pushing against it. Imagine a swimmer caught in a strong current. The instinct may be to fight against the water, struggle, or resist. But the harder they fight, the more exhausted they become. A Taoist approach would be different. Rather than battling the current, the swimmer would let the water carry them, conserving energy, moving with the flow rather than against it. This is Wu Wei in action, a way of moving through life without unnecessary struggle. Taoists believe that when we stop forcing things, when we allow events to unfold naturally, everything becomes smoother. This applies to everything from work and relationships to creative pursuits and personal growth. Consider moments when you have been indeed in the flow, when everything seemed effortless, when thoughts and actions came naturally without force. This state of flow is what Taoists encourage us to cultivate in all aspects of life. Wu Wei does not mean we do nothing. It simply means we act in alignment with nature rather than resisting it. Another key principle in Taoism is yin and yang, the idea that all things exist in balance. Light and dark, movement and stillness, action and rest. Each complements the other, and neither can exist without its opposite. Western thought often sees opposites as conflicting forces, but Taoism sees them as interconnected parts of a greater whole. A storm and a calm sea are not separate, they are two expressions of the same ocean. By understanding yin and yang, we learn to accept both sides of life. We cannot have joy without sorrow. We cannot have success without failure. We cannot have strength without vulnerability. Taoism teaches us that when we embrace both sides of life, rather than resisting one in favor of the other, we find proper balance. Taoist philosophy also encourages simplicity. Modern life is full of noise, distractions, and complexities, but Taoism reminds us that true peace is found in living naturally, appreciating the present, and letting go of unnecessary desires. Lao Tzu once wrote, "The more you know, the less you understand. The more you chase, the less you gain." Taoists believe that many of our struggles come from overcomplication, wanting too much, striving too hard, and chasing things that ultimately do not bring peace. By living simply, appreciating what we have, and letting go of attachment, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress. In Taoism, nature is the most excellent teacher. A tree does not rush to grow. A river does not question its course. Everything in nature moves according to the Tao, without force, without effort, just as we should. By observing the world around us, we can learn how to live more harmoniously. The patience of a growing plant teaches us that change takes time. The adaptability of water teaches us to move with life's currents. The stillness of a mountain reminds us that strength is found in quiet stability. Nature does not resist itself. Why, then, should we resist life? A slow reflection. Think about the moments in life when you have felt at peace. Were there times of control and effort, or times when you simply let things happen? Taoism invites us to consider, what would life feel like if we stopped resisting so much? Instead of trying to control every outcome, what if we learned to trust the flow of events? Instead of worrying about the future, what if we simply lived entirely in the present moment? Imagine moving through life like water, adapting to challenges rather than fighting them, finding your own path without force, and allowing things to happen naturally. This is the Taoist way. It is a quiet, gentle philosophy that does not seek to change the world, but to help us move through it with ease. Taoism does not ask us to do more, it asks us to do less, to let go of unnecessary struggles, to stop forcing things, and to trust that life will unfold as it should, because in the end, the river always finds its way to the sea. A soft transition. Taoism teaches us that life is not something to be controlled, but something to be lived naturally. It shows us that by letting go of struggle, we find peace. But some philosophies suggest that life is not just about ease and flow. It is about fulfilling a duty, a purpose that is tied to the fabric of the universe itself. This brings us to Hindu Dharma, a perspective that sees life as part of a more excellent order, where meaning is not just personal but woven into existence itself. 5. Hindu Dharma, purpose through cosmic order, the core idea. Across the vast history of human thought, few ideas have been as enduring as Dharma, the principle of cosmic order, moral duty, and purpose that has shaped the lives of millions for over 3,000 years. In the traditions of Hinduism, Dharma is more than just a philosophy. It is the very fabric of existence. the unseen force that guides the universe and everything within it. Unlike existentialist or Taoist thought, which emphasize personal meaning or effortless flow, Dharma suggests that meaning is already woven into the world, waiting to be discovered and fulfilled. The Sanskrit word dharma, dhrum, comes from the root drar, meaning to uphold or to sustain. It refers to the universal laws that keep everything in balance, from the movements of the stars to the rhythms of nature, from the responsibilities of kings to the daily actions of ordinary people. Dharma is often described as one's duty in life, but it is much more than that. It is both personal and cosmic, a path unique to each individual, yet part of the grand order of existence. It governs everything. The natural world follows Dharma. Rivers flow to the sea, seasons change, and the sun rises and sets. Society is built on Dharma. Justice, responsibility, and ethical behavior create stability. Individuals live by Dharma, by understanding their role in the world and acting with integrity. Unlike Western ideas of morality, which often focus on universal rules that apply to everyone equally, Dharma is contextual. It depends on a person's stage in life, their nature, and their circumstances. This is why Hindu philosophy does not prescribe a single right way to live, but instead encourages each person to find and follow their own Dharma. Hindu texts, including the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and the Vedas, speak of Dharma as the key to both worldly success and spiritual liberation. In the Bhagavad Gita, the warrior Arjuna is told by the god Krishna that fulfilling one's Dharma, even when difficult, is the highest duty. It is better to live your own Dharma imperfectly than to follow the Dharma of another perfectly. Bhagavad Gita 3.35. But what does this mean in daily life? How does one discover their own Dharma, and how does it shape the meaning of life? To answer these questions, we must explore the 4 types of Dharma, the stages of life, and the role of karma in shaping destiny. A gentle exploration. Hindu philosophy describes Dharma in different ways, depending on the context. Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, the universal laws of existence, truth, compassion, respect for all beings. These apply to all people, regardless of status, religion, or culture. Svadharma, personal duty, the unique path that each individual must follow, based on personal nature, talents, and life circumstances. Varna Dharma, social duty, the responsibilities tied to one's role in society. Historically, it has been connected to caste, but it is more broadly understood as one's professional or social obligation. Ashrama Dharma, stages of life duty, the evolving duties one has at different stages of life: youth, adulthood, retirement, and spiritual pursuit. Understanding these different types of Dharma helps one find purpose, not by choosing meaning, but by aligning oneself with the natural order. Unlike modern philosophies that emphasize personal freedom, Hindu thought suggests that true fulfillment comes from understanding and embracing one's purpose. Each person has svadharma, or personal duty, shaped by their abilities, passions, and role in the world. One person's dharma may be to teach, another's to heal, another's to govern, another's to create. The idea is that everyone has a unique role to play, and fulfillment comes from accepting and excelling in that role. But how does one know what their dharma is? Hindu thought suggests 3 key ways: looking inward, what feels natural, what brings deep satisfaction even when complex, observing life's circumstances. Dharma is not just about desire, but about responsibility. What does the world ask of you? Acting selflessly. Dharma is not about personal gain, but about serving something greater than oneself. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that Dharma is not always easy. Sometimes it requires sacrifice. Sometimes it demands discipline. However, in following one's duty, a person finds deep and lasting fulfillment. Hindu tradition describes 4 stages of life, each with its dharma. Brahmacharya, student; stage, discipline, self-discovery; grahastha, householder stage; work, marriage, family raising, contributing to society; Vanaprastha, retirement stage, letting go of worldly concerns and focusing on spiritual life. Sannyasa, renunciation stage, a life devoted entirely to inner peace and enlightenment. Each phase has its own Dharma, and fulfillment comes from fully embracing the duties of each stage rather than rushing or resisting them. Karma is the principle that actions have consequences, not as punishment or reward, but as a natural cause and effect law of the universe. Dharma and karma are deeply intertwined. Living according to Dharma leads to good karma, creating harmony in life. Ignoring one's Dharma leads to imbalance, bringing difficulty or suffering. This is not about external punishment, but about alignment. When one's actions are in harmony with the universe, life unfolds more smoothly. Imagine a musician playing in an orchestra. If they follow the rhythm, the music flows beautifully. If they ignore it, chaos follows. Dharma is like this cosmic rhythm, and karma is the result of how well we align with it. A slow reflection. Think about the moments in life when you have felt truly aligned, when everything seemed to fall into place, when your actions felt right, natural, and meaningful. Dharma suggests that these moments are not accidental. They are signs that we are following the right path. Now think of times when life felt chaotic and when things seemed to go wrong at every turn. Hindu thought suggests that this, too, has meaning. Not as a punishment, but as a sign that we may need to realign with our true purpose. The goal is not perfection. It is not about forcing oneself into a role, but about understanding that meaning is already present in life. It is simply a matter of discovering and embracing it. Unlike existentialism, which tells us to create our own meaning, or Taoism, which tells us to let go, Hindu Dharma tells us that meaning is already there. Our task is to live it fully, a soft transition. Dharma offers a structured way to find meaning, a role to fulfill, a purpose to embrace. However, not every philosophy sees life as something with an inherent order. Some believe that life has no deeper meaning at all, and that this is not something to fear, but something to embrace. This brings us to Absurdism, the idea that life is random, chaotic, and without ultimate meaning, yet still beautiful in its own way. Let us now explore the philosophy of the absurd, and how it teaches us to find peace in the mystery of existence. 6. Buddhist, Nirvana, freedom from suffering. The core idea. For much of human history, suffering has been an inescapable reality. Pain, loss, change, and uncertainty, these experiences shape every life. But what if suffering is not an unavoidable burden, but a condition that can be transcended? In Buddhist thought, Nirvana represents the ultimate release, the state of being free from suffering, free from attachment, free from the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. Nirvana is often misunderstood as a place or an external paradise. But in Buddhism, it is not a destination but a state of being, a profound inner peace that arises when one lets go of desire and attachment. It is the quieting of the mind, the realization that suffering is not an inevitable part of existence, but a condition we can rise above through wisdom, practice, and understanding. To attain nirvana, one must deeply internalize the Four Noble Truths. Life is suffering, dukkha. Pain, loss, and impermanence are inherent to existence. Suffering arises from craving, tanha. We suffer because we cling to desires and resist change. There is an end to suffering. By letting go of attachment, suffering can cease. At the heart of Buddhist philosophy is the belief that attachment leads to suffering. When we cling to things, whether people, status, emotions, or even our own identities, we create the conditions for dissatisfaction. All things change, nothing lasts. And when we resist this truth, we create suffering. Nirvana is found through detachment, not in the sense of isolation or indifference, but in the soft, peaceful acceptance of impermanence. It is the freedom that comes when we stop grasping, stop chasing, and instead learn to simply be. This practice is not about renouncing the world, but about engaging with it in a way that is free from clinging. A person on the path to nirvana does not reject love, joy, or ambition, but approaches them without attachment, knowing that all things are fleeting and that true peace comes from within. A gentle exploration. Buddhism teaches that impermanence, anicca, is the fundamental nature of reality. Everything, our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, even the stars in the sky, exists in a constant state of change. Nothing is fixed. Nothing stays the same. At first, this truth can feel unsettling. We long for stability, for certainty. But Buddhism invites us to breathe through this impermanence, to embrace it rather than resist it. In doing so, we begin to experience a new kind of freedom, a release from fear, from anxiety, from the illusion of permanence. Through meditation, mindfulness, and deep reflection, practitioners learn to observe their thoughts and emotions without attachment. Like clouds passing through the sky, these experiences arise and fade away. They are not who we are. They do not define us. When we stop clinging, we discover a profound sense of peace beneath the surface of all things. To achieve nirvana, one follows the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethical living and spiritual development. Right view, understanding the nature of suffering and impermanence. Right intention, cultivating thoughts of compassion and detachment. Right speech, speaking truthfully and kindly. Right action, acting in ways that cause no harm. Right livelihood, engaging in work that aligns with ethical principles. Right effort, practicing self-discipline and inner balance. Right mindfulness, maintaining awareness of the present moment. Right concentration, developing deep focus and meditation. These steps guide practitioners toward mental clarity, ethical conduct, and inner liberation, allowing them to gradually let go of suffering. Buddhist philosophy encourages a way of life that is simple, mindful, and present. True joy, it suggests, is not found in wealth, power, or fleeting pleasures, but in the quiet appreciation of each moment as it arises. Imagine the stillness of a morning before the world wakes up, the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind, the warmth of a cup of tea, the sound of your own breath moving in and out. These are the moments where joy resides, not in excess, but in simplicity. Nirvana is not an escape from life, it is a deeper presence within it. It is the ability to find joy in what is, rather than in what we wish things to be. A slow reflection. Close your eyes, breathe in. Feel the air fill your lungs, cool and steady. Breathe out. Let go of the tension in your body, the thoughts in your mind. There is nowhere to be but here, nothing to do but breathe. Imagine yourself as a still lake. The surface may ripple, but deep below the water is calm, untouched. Thoughts, emotions, and worries come and go like waves, but they do not disturb the depth beneath. That depth is always there. That peace is always within you. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises when we become tangled in our thoughts and emotions. But when we step back, when we observe instead of reacting, we realize that we are not our thoughts, not our fears, not our desires. We are the awareness beneath it all. This practice of mindful awareness is the key to dissolving suffering. When we detach from our thoughts, we recognize them for what they are, passing events in the mind, not absolute truths. This realization is profoundly freeing. Imagine floating weightlessly in an endless sky. No gravity pulling you towards suffering, no struggle to hold on to fleeting things, just presence, just peace. In this stillness, there is no need to hold on, no need to resist, just a quiet, weightless drift into calm. A soft transition. Nirvana teaches that meaning is not found in control, achievement, or possession, but in letting go. In surrendering to the present moment, we discover a freedom beyond desire, beyond suffering. But what if reality itself is an illusion? What if existence is not something to escape from, but something to question entirely? 7. Simulation hypothesis. Life as a grand illusion. The core idea. What if the world around us, the sights, sounds, and sensations we experience, are not as real as they seem? What if our entire existence is part of an intricate illusion, a simulation created by an advanced intelligence? This is the foundation of the simulation hypothesis, a theory that suggests that what we perceive as reality is an artificial construct, much like a highly advanced computer program or a dream we have yet to wake up from. The idea is not new. Philosophers, scientists, and mystics have long questioned the nature of reality, from Plato's allegory of the cave to René Descartes' skepticism about the senses. Many have pondered whether our perceptions truly reflect the world as it is. Modern technology has reignited this discussion, as advancements in artificial intelligence and virtual reality show how convincingly an illusion can be crafted. If reality can be simulated, then what makes our current experience any different? Dreams feel real while we are in them. Only upon waking do we recognize their illusory nature. Virtual reality immerses users in artificial environments, triggering real emotions and responses. Quantum physics reveals that matter behaves differently when observed, suggesting an interaction between consciousness and reality. These examples raise a fundamental question. If we were in a simulation, how would we know? The simulation hypothesis suggests that, just as characters in a video game believe their world to be real, we too might be inside a construct designed by an intelligence beyond our comprehension. A gentle exploration. The idea that reality is an illusion has been explored in many traditions, both philosophical and scientific. Ancient philosophy and illusions of reality. Plato's allegory of the cave. In this famous thought experiment, prisoners are chained in a cave, seeing only shadows on a wall. To them, the shadows are reality, but once freed, they realize they had only seen a projection of the true world. Could our reality be a similar illusion? Hinduism and Maya. In Eastern philosophy, Maya refers to the illusion of the material world. According to Hindu and Buddhist traditions, reality as we perceive it is temporary and deceptive, masking a deeper truth. Descartes and the deceptive demon. Descartes speculated that an evil demon could be manipulating his senses, making him believe in a false reality. His only certainty? Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Modern science and the simulation hypothesis. Nick Bostrom's argument. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed that if civilizations advance far enough to create realistic simulations, then it is statistically likely that we already live in one. Computational limits of the universe. Some physicists argue that reality behaves similarly to a computer program. The way quantum particles snap into place upon observation is reminiscent of rendering in a video game. The holographic principle. Some scientists suggest that our universe may function like a hologram, where three-dimensional reality is encoded on a two-dimensional surface. If these theories hold any weight, it could mean that our sense of self, our memories, and even our physical world might be part of an elaborate illusion. If we are living in a simulation, does that make our experiences meaningless? Not necessarily. Consider how stories, movies, and video games immerse us in artificial worlds. When we play a game, we know it isn't real, but we still find meaning in the journey. When we dream, the experiences feel vivid, even though they fade upon waking. Could life be something similar, a temporary but deeply meaningful experience? Rather than fear the simulation hypothesis, we might embrace it as a new way of understanding existence. A reminder that reality is flexible, perception is subjective, and the experience of being alive is valuable, whether real or simulated. A slow reflection. If reality is an illusion, how should we live? Should we search for proof or accept that we may never find answers? Buddhism teaches that clinging to certainty creates suffering. Whether reality is real or not, we can find peace in simply experiencing it as it is. Perhaps the goal is not to wake up from the illusion, but to engage with it fully. Take a moment to reflect. If life were a simulation, would that change the way I live? If reality is an illusion, does that make love, joy, and beauty any less meaningful? If I were to wake up in a different world tomorrow, what would I take with me from this experience? The simulation hypothesis leaves us suspended in mystery. It suggests that everything we know, our emotions, relationships, struggles, and triumphs, could be part of something beyond our understanding. But does that make them any less real? Imagine drifting through space untethered, floating in the vast unknown. The stars shine whether or not they are real. The wind moves whether or not it is simulated. Experience is experience, regardless of its origin. Perhaps, rather than searching for absolute truth, we can simply appreciate the wonder of the journey itself. A soft transition. If reality is a simulation, then meaning is not given to us. It is chosen. Whether we live in a physical universe or a digital dream, our experiences are what we make of them. But what if meaning is not something we uncover, but something we actively create through our actions? 8. Absurdism, embracing the mystery. The core idea. There is a moment in life when a person stares into the vastness of existence and asks, "Why are we here?" It is a question as old as thought itself, pondered by philosophers, poets, and ordinary people alike. And yet, no matter how deeply we search, the universe offers no clear answer. For some, this absence of meaning is troubling. If there is no grand design and no inherent purpose, then is life meaningless? Should we despair, or is there another way to look at it? This is where absurdism begins. Absurdism, a philosophy shaped mainly by Albert Camus, suggests that life has no predetermined meaning, but that this is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. The absurd arises from a contradiction. Human beings crave meaning, yet the universe remains silent. We want answers, but the world does not provide them. Camus describes this as the absurd condition, a fundamental disconnect between our desire for order and the random, indifferent nature of existence. But rather than seeing this as a tragedy, he suggests that we accept it, even find joy in it. Absurdism is often misunderstood as nihilism, but there is a key difference. Nihilism argues that since life has no meaning, nothing matters. Absurdism argues that even though life has no inherent meaning, we can still live fully, passionately, and without illusion. Camus offers an alternative to despair: revolt. Not in the political sense, but in the personal sense. A refusal to submit to hopelessness, a decision to live with full awareness of life's absurdity. The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus. This is the core message of absurdism. Life may not have meaning, but that does not mean it is not worth living. We can still love, laugh, create, and experience the world, even in the face of the unknown. But how does one truly embrace the absurd? How does this philosophy apply to daily life? To answer this, we must explore the 3 responses to the ridiculous and how we can cultivate a mindset of joyful defiance, a gentle exploration. When confronted with the absurd condition, the realization that life has no ultimate meaning, Camus outlines 3 possible responses: denial, faith, or illusion. Some people refuse to accept the absurd, instead seeking comfort in religion, ideology, or a belief system that assigns meaning to life. Camus does not criticize religious faith outright, but he sees it as an attempt to escape the reality of the absurd. Suicide, exclaimed some overwhelmed by the idea that life has no meaning, fall into despair. Camus strongly rejects this option, calling it philosophical suicide, the ultimate refusal to face reality. Acceptance, living in revolt. The third and most courageous option is to accept the absurd without illusion and still choose to live fully. Instead of searching for external meaning, we create our own meaning through experience, action, and defiant joy. This third response, the acceptance of life's mystery while still embracing it, is what absurdism encourages. Camus does not offer traditional rules for how to live, but he does suggest a way of being, to live freely, without fear, without false hope, and with full appreciation of the present moment. Here are key ways to apply absurdist thought in everyday life. 1. Let go of the need for ultimate answers. For many, the search for meaning is lifelong. We look for purpose in religion, philosophy, work, relationships, and even material success. But Camus argues that absolute freedom comes when we stop searching for a singular answer and accept life as it is, open-ended, uncertain, yet full of possibility. Imagine walking through a vast desert. You may never find the truth at the end of your journey, but along the way there are moments of beauty. Sunsets, shifting dunes, the cool night air. The journey itself is the experience, not the destination. Absurdism teaches that we should stop chasing meaning and instead focus on experiencing life fully. 2. Create your own meaning through action. Just because life has no built-in purpose does not mean it must be empty. Camus suggests that we can invent meaning through our passions, our relationships, and our creativity. For some, meaning may be found in art, writing, and music. For others, it may be in love, adventure, or small moments of beauty. The key is to engage fully in life without the illusion that it must lead somewhere. Consider a painter who creates a masterpiece. The work has no cosmic significance, but it is still meaningful to the artist. This is absurdism in action, making meaning even in a meaningless world. 3. Embrace the temporary nature of life. Absurdism reminds us that everything is fleeting, nothing lasts forever, and that is what makes it precious. Rather than fearing the temporary nature of existence, we can embrace it. A sunset is beautiful because it does not last. A moment of laughter is meaningful because it is brief. Absurdist thought encourages us to see life not as something to be solved, but as something to be lived, moment by moment. 4. Find joy in the struggle. Camus' metaphor of Sisyphus, the man condemned to roll a boulder uphill for eternity, is central to absurdism. At first, it seems like a story of hopelessness, but Camus flips the narrative. He suggests that Sisyphus is happy, not because he has found meaning, but because he accepts his fate and embraces the struggle itself. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and repetition. Absurdism teaches us that instead of fighting against reality, we should find joy in the process itself. The meaning is not in reaching the top of the hill, but pushing the rock itself. A slow reflection. Take a moment to think about your own life. Are there times when you've searched for meaning only to feel that no answer was enough? Have you ever looked up at the sky and felt the enormity of existence pressing down on you? Absurdism tells us that this feeling is not a problem, but part of being human. The universe may not give us answers, but that does not mean we cannot live deeply, love fiercely, and experience fully. Instead of looking for an external purpose, we can choose to find meaning in the small joys of life. Engage with the world without expectation. Laugh at the absurdity of it all. Ultimately, the most significant rebellion against meaninglessness is to live as if life itself is enough. A soft transition. Absurdism teaches us that meaning is not given but made. Even in a universe without answers, we can still find joy, create, love, and embrace life on our terms. But what if we are not just individuals searching for meaning? What if meaning comes not from personal experience, but from something much larger, something cosmic, something vast? This brings us to our following way of understanding life's purpose: the cosmic perspective. The idea that we are all part of something greater, something infinite, something as old as the stars themselves. 9. The cosmic perspective. We are stardust, the core idea. Somewhere, far beyond the reach of our eyes, a star is being born. Deep in the cold vastness of space, clouds of gas and dust swirl together, pulled by the quiet force of gravity. Over millions of years, the pressure builds, the atoms fuse, and the dark emptiness is illuminated by the light of a new sun. That same process happened billions of years ago, before Earth existed, before the sun shone in our sky. Every atom in our bodies, every molecule that makes up our skin, our bones, our breath, was once part of a distant star. This is the cosmic perspective, the idea that we are not separate from the universe, but an inseparable part of it. The atoms in our bodies were forged in the hearts of ancient stars scattered across the universe when those stars exploded. Over time, they became planets, oceans, trees, and eventually us. The famous astrophysicist Carl Sagan captured this idea beautifully. The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. This perspective transforms how we see ourselves. It tells us that we are not isolated, not small, not insignificant. We are the universe itself, thinking, feeling, and wondering about its own existence. Unlike other philosophies that focus on personal meaning or societal roles, the cosmic perspective expands our view beyond the individual and even beyond humanity itself. It invites us to see life not as something separate from the cosmos, but as an expression of it. But how does this perspective shape the meaning of life? If we are part of the universe, does that make life more meaningful or less? To answer this, we must explore the vast scale of the cosmos, the story of life's origins, and how this knowledge can change the way we live. A gentle exploration, the immensity of the universe. To understand the cosmic perspective, we must first grasp the sheer scale of the universe. Imagine holding a single grain of sand in your hand. Now, imagine that each grain of sand on Earth represents a star. Even then, the number of stars in the universe would be greater than all the grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Our home galaxy, the Milky Way, contains around 400 billion stars, but the Milky Way is just one galaxy among 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Somewhere in one of those countless galaxies, there may be planets like Earth, oceans like ours, and perhaps even life. The universe is vast beyond comprehension. At first, this immensity might make life feel small, even meaningless, but the cosmic perspective suggests something different. That we are a rare and beautiful result of cosmic evolution, a fleeting yet extraordinary expression of the universe itself. The story of life, from stardust to consciousness. The universe began 13.8 billion years ago with a big bang, an explosion of energy and matter that eventually formed galaxies, stars, and planets. For billions of years, the cosmos was lifeless, a vast expanse of swirling gas and rock. Then, something remarkable happened. On a small planet orbiting an ordinary star, life emerged. Simple molecules combined formed chains and began to replicate. Over billions of years, these molecules evolved into cells, then into complex organisms, and eventually into conscious beings who could wonder about their own origins. We are the universe made self-aware. The same forces that shaped the galaxies also shaped us. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are the cosmos, experiencing itself. This idea shifts our perspective in profound ways. If we see life as part of the universe's natural unfolding, then meaning is not something external, something we must search for. It is already woven into existence itself. Finding meaning in the cosmic perspective. How does this vast perspective affect how we live? It teaches us 3 important lessons. We are all connected. The cosmic perspective reminds us that everything is connected. The air we breathe was once part of distant stars. The water in our bodies has cycled through countless forms: clouds, rivers, glaciers. Every living thing on Earth shares a common ancestry. This knowledge deepens our sense of unity, not just with humanity, but with all life. It reminds us that our differences are minor compared to what we share. If we see ourselves as part of something greater, kindness, compassion, and cooperation become natural ways of living. 2. Life is precious because it is temporary. The universe will continue long after we are gone. Stars will be born, galaxies will collide, and time will stretch forward beyond imagining. But our time here and now is brief. Far from making life meaningless, this makes it more precious. The moments we experience, love, laughter, curiosity, wonder, are rare and fleeting. Understanding this encourages us to live fully, appreciate sincerely, and cherish the time we have. 3. We are the creators of meaning. If the universe does not assign us meaning, then we are free to create our own. Science does not tell us why we should live, but it does show us that we have the ability to shape our own experiences. The universe has given us time, consciousness, and the capacity to love and create. What we do with these gifts is up to us. This is why the cosmic perspective is not just about knowledge, but about awe, gratitude, and responsibility. A slow reflection. Take a moment to picture the night sky stretching endlessly above. Every star you see is a sun, possibly with planets orbiting around it, perhaps even with life. Now, bring your focus back to Earth, to this very moment. You are part of that same vast universe. The same atoms that formed the first stars are inside you. The same forces that move the galaxies move through you. This perspective does not diminish you, it expands you. It reminds you that life is not small or insignificant. Instead, life is a rare and extraordinary phenomenon, a brief spark in the great unfolding story of the cosmos. The meaning of life may not be found in words or theories. Perhaps it is something that is felt. In the vastness of the stars, in the quiet beauty of a sunset, in the warmth of human connection. To see the world through the cosmic perspective is to live with wonder, gratitude, and an awareness that we are part of something far more significant than ourselves. A soft transition. The cosmic perspective invites us to see life not as something separate from the universe, but as an expression of it. It teaches us that meaning is not given but created, and that our existence is both fleeting and deeply significant. But there is one more way to approach the meaning of life, one that is deeply personal, rooted not in the vastness of the cosmos, but in something closer, something felt in every connection we make. This brings us to our final exploration: love and connection. The idea that meaning is found not in knowledge, not in philosophy, but in the relationships we build and the bonds we share. 10. Love and connection. Finding meaning in others, the core idea. Of all the ideas about life's meaning, one stands apart. Not found in philosophy books, not calculated by reason, not written in the stars. It is something deeply human, something felt rather than explained. Love and connection. Unlike cosmic vastness or existential reflection, love does not require deep contemplation. It reveals itself in the simplest of moments: a shared laugh, the warmth of a friend's presence, the quiet comfort of knowing someone is there. For centuries, thinkers, poets, and philosophers have debated the meaning of life. But often the answer is not in grand theories, but in the people we hold close to. Love is more than romance. It is the connection between parent and child, between lifelong friends, and between strangers who share a moment of kindness. It is the invisible thread that links people together across time, space, and circumstance. Psychologists, philosophers, and even neuroscientists have studied love and connection, trying to understand why they matter so much. What they have found is profound. Love gives life meaning. Studies show that people with strong relationships report greater happiness, fulfillment, and even longer lifespans. Connection is fundamental. Humans are wired for relationships. We thrive not in isolation, but in togetherness. Love exists beyond individuals. It is not just about one person or one relationship. It is something universal, something that touches everyone. Unlike other philosophies that tell us to find or create meaning, love reminds us that meaning often comes naturally in the quiet moments shared with others. But what makes love and connection so powerful? To understand, we must explore the science, philosophy, and lived experience of human relationships, a gentle exploration. For decades, psychologists have studied the impact of relationships on human well-being. Their findings are clear. Love and connection are not luxuries, they are essential. In the 20th century, psychologist Abraham Maslow proposed a hierarchy of needs, a pyramid describing what humans need to thrive. At its foundation are basic survival needs: food, water, shelter. But just above these, love and belonging. Maslow argued that without connection, life feels incomplete. Even with wealth, success, or knowledge, a person who lacks love will still feel unfulfilled. Modern neuroscience supports this idea. Brain scans show that social connection activates the same reward centers as food and safety. Love is not just an emotion, it is a biological necessity. Consider, loneliness affects health. Studies show that chronic loneliness is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Connection increases lifespan. People with close relationships tend to live longer and recover faster from illness. Love shapes the brain. Infants who receive love and attention develop stronger neural connections than those who do not. Love is woven into our very biology. It is not an abstract idea. It is part of what makes us human. Philosophers have long debated the role of love in human life. Some see it as the ultimate purpose, while others view it as one piece of a greater whole. Plato believed love was a bridge to the divine, a way of reaching a higher understanding. In the Symposium, he described love as something that begins with attraction, but leads to wisdom and enlightenment. Aristotle saw love as essential to a good life. He argued that deep friendship, what he called philia, was more valuable than wealth or power. Friedrich Nietzsche viewed love as an affirmation of life, something that allows humans to embrace existence despite its challenges. Across cultures, traditions, and time, love has been seen not just as an emotion, but as a force that gives life purpose. The ancient Greeks described 4 types of love, each contributing to meaning in a different way. Eros, romantic love. Passionate, intimate love, the kind that draws people together in deep connection. Philia, deep friendship. The bond between friends is built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. Storge, familial love. The love between parents and children, siblings and family members. Agape, universal love. Love that extends beyond individuals. A love for humanity, for nature, for existence itself. Each of these forms of love adds richness to life, reminding us that meaning does not come from ideas alone, but from the relationships we build. Unlike philosophical theories that focus on the past or future, love grounds us in the present. When we are with someone we love, whether a partner, a friend, or even a pet, we are truly here. Many people find purpose not in careers or achievements, but in the relationships they nurture. Parents find meaning in raising children. Friends find it in supporting each other. Even simple acts of kindness, helping a stranger share a smile, add depth to life. Absurdist thought suggests that life has no inherent meaning, but love offers a counterpoint. Perhaps meaning is not something to search for, but something we feel. Even if life has no grand purpose, love makes it worthwhile. A slow reflection. Think about the moments that have shaped your life. Were they moments of solitary reflection, or were they moments of connection, conversations, laughter, shared experiences? Consider the people who matter most to you. What would life be without them? Love reminds us that we do not have to search endlessly for meaning. It is already here, in the relationships we nurture, in the bonds we strengthen, in the simple joy of being with others. Meaning is not something distant or abstract. Sometimes it is found in holding someone's hand, in listening, in being present. Perhaps, in the end, the meaning of life is not something we find alone, but something we create together. A soft transition. Throughout this journey, we have explored many ways to understand life's meaning. From personal choice to cosmic perspective, from embracing the absurd to finding peace in nature. However, meaning is not found in a single philosophy. It is found in all of them, woven together, shaping our experience in different ways. As we come to the end of this exploration, let us take a moment to reflect, not on what meaning should be, but on what it already is. Nihilism. Nihilism. Nihil freedom. In the absence of meaning, the core idea. For centuries, humans have searched for meaning. We have built religions, philosophies, and moral systems to explain our existence. We have sought purpose in love, art, success, relationships, and faith, believing these things anchor our existence. But what if this search is in vain? What if meaning is not something to be found, but something that does not exist? This is the unsettling proposition of nihilism. the radical idea that life has no inherent meaning, purpose, or value. It suggests that the universe is indifferent, that human existence is a cosmic accident, and that everything we value is ultimately constructed by human thought rather than embedded in reality. At first, this idea can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss. If nothing matters, then why should we care about anything? Why strive, love, or create? Why not simply give in to apathy? This is the fear that nihilism confronts us with. However, nihilism is not just about despair. Some see it as an opportunity, a chance to discard illusions and live freely, without constraints imposed by outdated beliefs or artificial systems. If meaning does not exist on its own, then we are free to create it. This tension, despair versus liberation, emptiness versus freedom, is at the heart of nihilistic thought. To fully understand it, we must explore its origins, evolution, and implications. A gentle exploration. Though the term nihilism did not exist until the 19th century, the roots of its ideas stretch back thousands of years. Many ancient civilizations and philosophical traditions questioned the nature of reality, truth, and meaning, though often stopping short of full-fledged nihilism. Greek skepticism, the sophists, argued that truth is relative and that morality is not universal but rather a human construction. Philosophers like Pyrrho of Elis went even further, claiming that certainty is impossible, which led to radical doubt. Buddhism and Taoism, while not nihilistic in the Western sense, these traditions reject permanent meaning and emphasize that all things are transient. Some aspects of these teachings mirror nihilism's rejection of inherent value. Ecclesiastes and biblical skepticism, the book of Ecclesiastes famously declares, "Meaningless, meaningless. Everything is meaningless." This ancient text expresses the idea that all human pursuits, wealth, knowledge, power, are ultimately futile. Though these early ideas flirted with nihilistic thought, they generally left room for spirituality, ethics, or inner peace. It was not until the modern age that nihilism became a fully developed philosophical position. Nihilism took center stage in the 19th century as traditional sources of meaning, religion, monarchy, morality, began to erode under the weight of scientific progress and social upheaval. The Industrial Revolution transformed societies, making old ways of life obsolete. The rise of secularism led many to question religious dogma. Scientific discoveries, such as Darwin's theory of evolution, challenged long-held beliefs about humanity's special place in the universe. In this landscape of uncertainty, Friedrich Nietzsche emerged as one of nihilism's most important and provocative voices. No thinker is more closely associated with nihilism than Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900. However, Nietzsche was not a nihilist. Rather, he saw nihilism as a crisis that had to be overcome. His famous declaration, "God is dead," was not an attack on religion itself, but a recognition that belief in divine purpose was fading. Without God, Nietzsche feared, humanity would drift into meaninglessness. He saw two possible reactions to this crisis: passive nihilism, a state of despair and resignation, where people unable to find new values sink into apathy; active nihilism, the destruction of old values to make way for new ones, leading to the creation of the Übermensch, overmen, a person who shapes their own values and purpose. Nietzsche's work challenged humanity to move beyond the void of nihilism and to embrace life with new, self-created meaning. Nihilism forces us to confront difficult questions about existence, morality, and purpose. Its impact can be both destructive and liberating. The dark side of nihilism. Some fear that nihilism leads to apathy. If nothing matters, why care about anything? Moral collapse. Without absolute right and wrong, society could descend into chaos, despair, and suicide. If life is meaningless, what is the point of continuing? Nietzsche called this the great danger of nihilism, a world where people without meaning turn to self-destruction or authoritarian ideologies to fill the void, the liberating side of nihilism. However, others argue that nihilism can be freeing. We are not bound by outdated beliefs or imposed morality. We can create our own purpose based on personal values. We are free to embrace life as it is, without illusions. Albert Camus, in The Myth of Sisyphus, argued that the absurdity of life should not lead to despair, but to defiance and joy. Even if life has no inherent purpose, we can choose to live fully, without needing cosmic justification. A slow reflection. Take a moment to reflect. If life has no inherent meaning, what does that mean for you? Does it leave you feeling lost, or does it open up new possibilities? Nihilism does not give us easy answers. It strips away illusions and forces us to decide, will we fall into despair, or will we embrace the freedom to shape our own lives? When we confront nihilism, we can respond in different ways. Some cling to old beliefs, afraid to face meaninglessness. Some sink into apathy, unable to move forward. Others see a challenge, an opportunity to create meaning on their own terms. The waves of existence will continue, whether we assign them meaning or not. But perhaps, instead of fearing the abyss, we can learn to stand at its edge with a sense of curiosity and courage. A soft transition. Nihilism strips away illusions, leaving a blank canvas. Some find this terrifying, others see it as an invitation. But perhaps meaning is not something grand or cosmic. Perhaps it is something personal, something we create in the simple experiences of life. 12. Pragmatism, meaning through action. The core idea. Many philosophies seek meaning in abstract ideas, grand theories about existence, morality, and the cosmos. But pragmatism takes a different approach. It suggests that meaning is not something to be discovered in lofty ideals, but something we create through action. If something works, if it improves our lives, helps others, or creates progress, then it is meaningful. Pragmatism is a philosophy of doing, of testing ideas in real-world conditions. Rather than fixating on whether something is true in an absolute sense, pragmatists ask, does it work? Does it bring value? Does it make life better? This approach provides a refreshing alternative to more speculative philosophies. Instead of asking, what is the ultimate purpose of life? Pragmatism asks, how can we make life better? It shifts the focus from theory to practice, from contemplation to tangible outcome. While nihilism strips meaning away, pragmatism rebuilds it, not through divine revelation or abstract reasoning, but through what we do in our everyday lives. In this way, meaning is not fixed but fluid, changing based on actions, results, and experiences. To explore pragmatism fully, we must examine the thinkers who shaped it, the way it applies to our daily lives, and how it invites us to live with purpose through action. A gentle exploration. Pragmatism arose in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as a response to rigid philosophical systems that sought absolute truths. Instead of looking for fixed principles, pragmatists focused on outcomes, on what beliefs and actions actually achieved. Two key figures in this movement were William James and John Dewey, who redefined meaning not as an external truth, but as something proven through experience and action. William James, often considered the father of pragmatism, argued that truth is not static but evolving. Rather than being an eternal concept, truth is something that emerges through experience. If an idea proves useful, if it helps people function better, it can be considered true in a practical sense. The greatest use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. William James. For James, meaning comes from engagement with the world. We do not passively discover truth. We create it through our choices and actions. John Dewey expanded on pragmatism, particularly in the realm of education and social progress. He believed that knowledge is not something to be memorized, but something to be tested, applied, and refined. Dewey's vision of pragmatism encouraged people to experiment, adapt, and refine their beliefs based on what actually works. In this view, meaning is not found in grand theories, but in continuous learning and growth. Pragmatism's strength is that it does not confine itself to intellectual debates. It manifests in education, politics, business, technology, and daily life. It is the guiding philosophy behind scientific inquiry, democratic values, and progress-driven policies. In education, teaching should not be about rote memorization, but about hands-on learning, critical thinking, and adaptability. Dewey's progressive education movement was built on this belief. In science, instead of seeking universal truths, science is constantly testing, adapting, and refining knowledge. Pragmatism aligns perfectly with the scientific method. In politics, rather than rigid ideologies, pragmatism supports policy-making based on real-world data and effectiveness. In business, success comes from solving real problems, innovating, and adapting to change. Pragmatism's power lies in its practical application. Rather than worrying about abstract questions of existence, pragmatism asks what actions make life richer, fuller, and more meaningful. In work, meaning is found in solving problems, creating and making a difference. In relationships, meaning emerges through love, connection, and mutual support. In learning, growth and adaptation shape understanding and purpose. Pragmatism is not about finding meaning, it is about doing meaningful things. It tells us that purpose is not a single discovery, but an ongoing process built through our actions. A slow reflection. Take a moment to reflect. Instead of asking, what is the meaning of life? Ask, what meaningful things am I doing? Pragmatism shifts our focus from abstract speculation to concrete action. It invites us to examine our daily lives. Are we pursuing projects that make a difference? Are we engaging in relationships that bring joy and fulfillment? Are we learning, adapting, and improving? Unlike nihilism, which can lead to paralysis, pragmatism encourages forward motion. It tells us that we do not need absolute answers to live a meaningful life. Instead, we simply need to engage, experiment, and refine our approach as we go. When we shift our mindset from seeking meaning to creating it through action, we unlock a deeper sense of purpose. Meaning is not something waiting to be found, it is something we shape moment by moment through what we do. Pragmatism also reminds us that failure is not the end. It is a learning experience. Trial and error is how we refine our goals, adjust our paths, and build resilience. Every action, even the smallest one, contributes to a meaningful life, a soft transition. Pragmatism teaches us that meaning is fluid, not fixed. It is not something we uncover, but something we build through action, learning, and experience. This invites us to consider a broader perspective. If meaning is shaped by our actions, how does this interact with other philosophies that embrace flexibility and adaptability? Perhaps meaning is not about creating or rejecting purpose, but about flowing with life itself. 13. Altruism. Meaning. Through selflessness. What if the meaning of life is not found in personal fulfillment, intellectual pursuits, or cosmic understanding, but in giving to others? Altruism suggests that life's deepest purpose is rooted in selflessness, in the act of helping, supporting, and uplifting others without expectation of reward. Unlike philosophies that focus on self-improvement or individual enlightenment, altruism shifts the focus outward. It argues that meaning does not emerge from within, but through our interactions with the world and the ways we positively impact others. This idea has appeared throughout history in religion, philosophy, and psychology. Many traditions emphasize compassion, generosity, and ethical responsibility as the highest virtues. Buddhism teaches karuna, compassion, as a central path to enlightenment. Christianity preaches selfless love, agape, as the ultimate form of devotion. Utilitarianism suggests that ethical choices should maximize well-being for the greatest number of people. Modern psychology links altruism to deeper happiness and mental well-being. Yet altruism also raises important questions. Is true selflessness possible? If we help others because it makes us feel good, is it still altruism? Is a life of self-sacrifice truly fulfilling? By exploring these ideas, we can better understand whether meaning is found in giving rather than receiving, and whether the purpose of life is not about what we achieve for ourselves, but what we contribute to others. A gentle exploration. The idea of living for others is ancient. Nearly every major civilization has grappled with the question of selflessness, with different thinkers interpreting it in different ways. Many religions place altruism at the heart of their moral teachings. Christianity, love your neighbor as yourself, is one of Jesus' most famous teachings. charity, kindness, and self-sacrifice are seen as virtues that bring people closer to God. Buddhism, the Bodhisattva ideal, is based on delaying personal enlightenment in order to help all beings find liberation. Islam, zakat, charitable giving, is one of the 5 pillars, emphasizing the duty to help those in need. Hinduism, the concept of seva, selfless service, teaches that true spiritual progress comes from serving others without expecting anything in return. Philosophers have debated the nature of selflessness for centuries. Immanuel Kant argued that moral duty requires selfless action. If we act out of self-interest, it is not truly moral. John Stuart Mill and utilitarianism believed in maximizing happiness for the greatest number of people. Helping others is meaningful because it increases overall well-being. Friedrich Nietzsche criticized excessive altruism, arguing that self-sacrifice can be a way of avoiding personal strength and growth. Modern science has explored the biological and psychological roots of altruism. Evolutionary biology. The concept of reciprocal altruism suggests that humans evolved to help others because cooperation increases survival chances. Neuroscience. Acts of kindness activate the brain's reward system, releasing oxytocin and dopamine, which create a sense of happiness. Positive psychology. Studies show that volunteering, generosity, and kindness increase life satisfaction and decrease depression. Altruism is not just an abstract philosophy, it is a way of living. People experience its effects daily through acts of kindness, generosity, and service. In family, parents dedicate their lives to nurturing children, often sacrificing personal desires for their well-being. In friendships, true friendship is built on mutual care and selfless support. In society, charities, nonprofits, and humanitarian organizations work to reduce suffering and improve global well-being. In crisis, during disasters, people often come together to help strangers, demonstrating the deep human instinct toward altruism. Yet altruism also raises challenges. Can we truly act without any self-interest? If helping others makes us feel good, does that make it less selfless? Should we always put others first, or is there a balance to be found? Some argue that self-sacrifice should be limitless, while others believe healthy boundaries are necessary. Without limits, excessive altruism can lead to burnout, resentment, and exploitation. Thus, true altruism may not be about abandoning oneself, but about finding harmony between giving and self-care. A slow reflection. Consider how altruism plays a role in your life. Do you find meaning in helping others, or do you see self-sacrifice as a burden? Ask yourself, when was the last time I did something purely for someone else with no expectation of return? Have I experienced joy or fulfillment from helping others? Do I believe meaning is found in giving rather than receiving? Am I balancing selflessness with self-care, or am I sacrificing too much of myself? Have I ever felt resentment from giving too much, and if so, how did I handle it? Do I believe that a truly selfless act is possible, or is all kindness tied to some level of personal reward? While many believe that helping others leads to a meaningful life, others warn against excessive self-sacrifice. Altruism is not about abandoning personal happiness, but about finding purpose through contribution. Perhaps the true meaning of life is not in what we take from the world, but in what we give back to it. A soft transition. Altruism offers a compelling vision of meaning built on love, generosity, and service. It suggests that purpose is not an individual pursuit, but a collective one. But this idea raises another question. Is meaning something we create through action, or something that arises naturally when we live in harmony with the world? Perhaps meaning is not about selfless action alone, but about finding balance with the natural flow of existence. Final reflection and closing. For hours, we have explored many ways to think about the meaning of life. We have looked at the existentialists' freedom, the Stoics' acceptance, and the Taoists' effortless flow. We have wandered through the ideas of virtue and flourishing, cosmic connection, and the embrace of absurdity. We have traced meaning through duty and Dharma, through the vastness of the stars, and through the quiet power of love and human connection. Each of these perspectives offers something unique. Some see life as a blank canvas waiting for us to paint our own meaning. Others see it as a river flowing naturally toward a destination. Some suggest we seek meaning in wisdom, others in surrender. Some find it in reason, others in love. But perhaps the meaning of life is not just one thing. Perhaps meaning is like light. It does not belong to a single source, but comes from many, shifting and changing, taking different forms as we move through time. And perhaps in this moment, there is no need to decide, no need to search for a single answer. There is only the quiet rhythm of thought, the soft unfolding of ideas, and the gentle awareness that we are here. Wherever we go, whatever we believe, one thing remains true. We are part of something greater. Whether that something is the vast cosmos, the flow of nature, the bonds between people, or simply the experience of life itself, it is accurate, it is present, and it is enough. Meaning does not have to be found. It does not have to be named. It can simply be felt. And so, as we prepare to let go of thought and drift into rest, let us take a final, quiet moment to reflect, a slow reflection on the journey. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let your breath settle into its natural rhythm. There is no rush. Feel the weight of your body sinking gently into comfort, the stillness surrounding you like a quiet embrace. Now, let your mind drift back through the journey we have taken together. Think of existentialism, the idea that meaning is something we create, shaped by our choices, our actions, and the life we build for ourselves. Think of Stoicism, the calm wisdom that reminds us that while we cannot control the world, we can always control how we respond to it. Think of Eudaimonia, the belief that a flourishing life is built on virtue, balance, and the quiet pursuit of wisdom. Think of Taoism, which is the reminder that we do not need to force life to follow a plan, that meaning can be found in flowing naturally with the world. Think of Dharma, the understanding that purpose is not always created but discovered, waiting for us in the responsibilities we fulfill. Think of Absurdism, the idea that life may not offer answers, but that we can still embrace its beauty, its mystery, and its joy. Think of the cosmic perspective, the knowledge that we are made of the same atoms as the stars, part of something ancient, vast, and extraordinary. And finally, think of love and connection, the understanding that meaning is often not found in ideas at all, but in the people we hold close, the moments we share, and the bonds that make life rich and full. Each of these ideas is a path. Some may resonate deeply, while others may simply pass through your thoughts like waves on the shore. That is the beauty of perspective. There is no single way to see the world, no single way to understand our place in it. And so, as you rest now, know that there is no need to search, no need to decide. There is only this moment, quiet and complete, exactly as it is. Life is vast and uncertain, full of questions, full of wonder, but the meaning does not need to be solved. It only needs to be lived. Wherever your path takes you, whether through knowledge, through love, through action, or simply through being, it is enough. You are part of something greater. You are here, and in this moment, that is all that matters.